Today we're taking a look at the Universal Studios pack on Pinball FX from Zen Pinball, starting with the ET pinball table. There are three total tables in this pack. This was the first one that we tried out. Now, for those that are familiar with the film, this is all about the film E.T., directed by Steven Spielberg, and the film is one of those ones that I feel like that people either loved it or hated it. And growing up, I definitely didn't like it, but maybe not hated it, but it was one of the only films that I could watch and my sisters could be in the same room as when I was watching it, so it got put on more frequently than I would have liked. And the story itself is about basically the alien that they affectionately name E.T. for extraterrestrial comes down and essentially is trying, I believe, like his ship crashed or something like that, and he's trying to basically call home to leave the planet. And there's a funny scene where he recognizes a kid dressed as Yoda and thinks it's somebody he knows. And then later in one of the Star Wars films, you see this race in the background at one of the Senate meetings. But that's as far as I'm going to go into as far as the background. The table itself, I was honestly expecting it to be disappointing, just because I disliked the film, and so I went into it not expecting much from it. But the table itself is actually really cool. As you play, if you hit the spaceship, I believe it's 3 times, it causes it to rise like you're seeing it now. And once you sink the ball into the hole underneath it, you can then choose which mission you're going to do. And this one right here was very interesting, just kind of a whole new dynamic that not really used to. Took me a lot longer than it should have to figure out the controls, especially since they're listed right there in the top left corner. And once I kind of figured it out, ended up losing the ball real quick, which you're about to see, and then I had to get there a few more times. But considering that the table actually provides many different ways to play, I thought that was a really cool feature of it, and made it a much more interesting and entertaining table, because as I kept hitting it, I wanted to see what would happen if I actually completed that mode, as well as see what the other modes had in store. But I kept screwing up once I would get to that cornfield and couldn't get to the end of it to see what happens next. Did finish several waves of it, but never got to the end. But it is a great way to make a lot of points very quickly, and is definitely worth playing just for that alone if you're trying to collect the collectibles. I haven't looked to see what the other collectible, like the main one is, the one that's not points related, but as far as the points related one, you can basically just spam the crap out of that mode and rack up points relatively quickly. And as always, we like to do the 5-minute play, so it guarantees that we're going to have enough time. Now, here's Back to the Future, is the second of the 3 tables. Now, Back to the Future is a franchise that has always been very close to my heart. By far, it's one of my all-time favorites, and you start off by basically being able to choose which point in time you go to, including the alternate timelines. And it's I haven't got too far into the story to find out if it's if there's more to the story than just traveling through time and kind of exploring the different eras. And it doesn't seem that the table as a whole changes depending on the era you choose, but some of the missions and some of the things that pop up do. And this one I was worried I was going to be disappointed, but I absolutely love this table. It is so much fun, and playing some of the modes are great ways of getting a lot of points. They're like right there with him on the board. I mean, every hit gives you hundreds of thousands of points, and you have to hit him a bunch of times, and a lot of the easy ramps to hit and bumpers and buttons and stuff give you a lot of points as well. And you guys probably know by now that I love a table that gives a ton of points, and so this is definitely one of them. Now, out of the three, this one is definitely by far my favorite. It was the one I hoped to enjoy the most, and was afraid that it was going to fall short of what I was hoping to get, but they did not disappoint. They exceeded my expectations and my hopes for this table, and they absolutely killed it. I loved it, and if you were a fan of the Back to the Future trilogy like I am, this is definitely going to be one you're going to want to play a bunch. And I hope that we possibly see some other related stuff down the road, maybe even some of the Williams tables. I'm pretty sure there's some that are Back to the Future related, but this one, absolutely loved it, and will absolutely be playing it again. The final table of the pack is Jaws, and this was another one that I had high hopes for. Didn't really know what to expect as far as the overall look of the table. Was mostly hoping that we'd get to see a lot of the shark driving around and causing some mayhem, or not driving around, but swimming around, and so going into it, I was hoping for something totally epic, and so getting into it, it definitely kind of surprised me that it just kind of looks a little too simple for a franchise as epic as Jaws is. And most likely that's because I haven't done enough in the map or the table to really see what it is capable of. But first impressions are that it fell short of what I hoped we would get. I found the placement of some of the ramps to be kind of off of where I hoped they would be, and consistently had some difficulty hitting them. So visually, the table's stunning. I just wish that we got to see more animation throughout the table, more things happening, and it just seemed surprisingly lackluster. Now, again, that's just my first impression, and it could just be because I just didn't progress far enough in a certain mode to see any of the cool stuff, and I'm hoping that's the case. Now, another feature I would have loved to have on here is if while playing the table, you also got to hear or have the option to put on the song Rocking the Boat from Ice Nine Kills, since both the table and that song are about the film Jaws. And I think it just would have made a much more energetic feeling table, because that song absolutely slaps and I love it. It's one of my favorites of theirs and would have made this table much better. Well, that's it for this episode. The next one we do, where we're going to be featuring a table pack, that one is actually going to be the Star Wars Collection Volume 1. So look forward to that. And thank you guys, as always, for watching, and we'll catch you next time.